was running a bit late anyway because I was over on PlayStation and it was on with friend Fluffy and we're just sort of we're just chatting about various Twitter dramas and she was saying how she was a bit unsure about getting back to her gaming account and I was like, well, yeah, I said she get drama like that, but you know, it says it's few and far between. It says, but it's always the really weird fucking people that start stuff like that. So. All right, but I think she will go back to her gaming Instagram. It's just. Yeah. It's been an interesting week, anyway, on Twitter.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't think this through the seating arrangement because he's kind of sort of sat away, facing away from the border. Oh wait, he needed to be sat at his feet. To be fair, when I first built this and I showed it to some other folk I play PC with, and they did the right thing. They did the Mothman worshipping emoji. So it's like yes, that is the appropriate, yeah.
I'm gonna lay down. There we go.
Oh dear. It's fine. No, I didn't realize. I mean, you can look shocked if you want. So I'm like, oh my god. That's fine. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I was taking pictures too. Can I get pictures of our classes?
It does. It's just, I mean, this has got nothing to do with anything that he's ever gonna have on the podcast, but I just love it. have the Voltech University one at the moment.
Oh no, you're gonna have to do outside of gaming editing.
What was the Raiders one?
That's fine. All right.
All right.
Yep. No worries. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for the late start and the bright light upon my face. That is the sun, and it is hurting my vampire powers.
I love this.
We are
We're
at Honored
properly
Skills Space.
socially distanced.
Everyone is properly socially distanced, even though we have the vaccine. There's a certain symmetry to the way Forder's bar is set up. It's almost like a face or something. I don't know. It's also like I don't know. But like here we are. And today we're going to be talking about Frank Herbert's Dune again. Last time we got through the introduction and we tried to like deal with a lot of terms and backstory. But we did basically say for today, just try and read what you can, and then we'll definitely go over things slowly. Okay, so we was chilling in the green room, and as is the fashion, I did the Irish good morning and was late for my own show. So Honored Steel held it down in Forder's base. Honored Steel, how you doing today?
Thank you. How are you?
It's a good life, you know, short of waffles.
Chicken and
I want
waffles.
waffles now.
Right?
We have a place here that did breakfast tacos with chicken, waffles, and eggs, and bacon and syrup. They were kind of amazing.
That seems legit. I feel like that's what people need in their life. Pour myself some coffee, chat. You know, there's a certain ambiance to the generator behind the bar, as carcinogenic as it is.
I mean, have you seen this place? It's like a fire hazard. It's underground and we have fire everywhere.
And so much wood.
Yes.
Seems legit. Yeah, there's a lot of wood. Huh. I'm sure that's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well,
Great in the winter.
I was gonna say too. It's like the fire. I think is good for us because Appalachia can be cold, right?
Yes.
I shouldn't ask for this because then they'll give us conditions where like no animals show up or whatever. But like, when is it gonna be winter proper? And now I've said it. Whoops.
Todd has heard it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, is that what you want? All right, let's get the frame on.
Sorry if you hear that periodically. They're chasing squirrels.
So, who's chasing squirrels? And tell us more about yourself, Chief of Security and fellow Scarlet Bullets cast member. Actually, everyone here is. Repatriate Girl, what is up?
Not a whole lot, thank you. I have a blueberry and a meatball, and they are chasing squirrels in the backyard, as they are
Blueberry.
wont to do when it is nice outside.
That's so awesome.
And as for me, well, Cassie is my character. She is, as you said, head of Vault Tech Security. I have a fancy little office up by your camp that I'm hoping to put together a nice little sitting area for us maybe next time.
That seems cool.
Cassie doesn't take any shit from anybody.
No
She may
shit.
be soft-spoken, but she's very firm and she's very direct.
Finally
And
found my friend.
she's not really associated with any factions. Her mentality is just don't be a dick and don't grief noobs.
Okay,
And you'll get along.
so I have a confession. I was griefing noobs recently.
Well,
I need to stop.
you will get a stern talking to.
I think I need to be shut down. But yeah, I apologize to the public. ended me by actions. I was like at Hemlock Holes, and I like had a memory of my time being griefed at Hemlock Holes, and I was like, it's my turn, and I should not have done that.
I think if you do grief them, you should at least leave them presents when you're done.
I left
Leave 'em-
like 1 stars and 2 stars and
There you go.
joke notes and holotapes.
See, that's good. Throw in
Yeah,
a.
but they were so scared. Actually, I also let them have the workshop. It's just that I shot at them a lot and scared them, and you know, people hate that.
This is true. That's why I don't usually like to take over workshops unless it's a group effort or I'm on the private server.
Ah, yes.
I'm just not into PvP unless it's nuclear winter.
That's true. It would be hilarious to run our Vault-Tec University lecture during a nuclear winter match.
That would be pretty awesome.
That's when you like force everyone to like toggle their chat on so that the oh, I guess it's nuclear winter, so it wouldn't matter. I take that back. Can't spam audio in that format. It's crazy that this is the vault shelter, you know? It seems as if, to me, like, this is a lot of above ground bases, basically. Like,
Yeah.
right down
They
to
gave
the
us some
throne.
really cool options. I really, really have enjoyed it. Although the floating things, when you don't want stuff to float, you can't always tell that they're floating. That's the only thing that irritates me. Because I have
Yes.
letters floating off of walls that I didn't realize were floating off of the walls.
Yep. I've had that. And it's been really, really annoying.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to say Nerf 1983.
Nice to see the other shelter types though, like the bunker and the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The cave. What? Is that the one
Yeah,
with the fish?
apparently there's going to be a cave.
Oh. Yeah, see, I don't go on the PTS because I am a grad student. But I look forward to all these things. I know other people are grad students and make time for the PTS. I just... Maybe it's because I PvP or something. I just, like, I don't know. I don't have time.
It seems like it can get swallowed up into the PTS.
Hell yeah. There's so much data there.
Mm-hmm. So many things to try out.
So many flavors. Apologize for wearing sunglasses underground. I am not hungover.
That's why I went back to sleep this morning.
Oh.
My fault. Did it to myself.
Nice. Well, so we left off sort of like chatting on Bene Gesserit's and kind of like establishing some fundamental problematics in the literature, yes? And now, yeah, I wonder if we turn to narrative or do we continue in such critical thought? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a preference. Was reading some more last night.
Skeletons.
Oh, I may have to go grab them.
Oh, the little babies.
Yeah, I gotta go
understand
grab
that.
one of them. I'll be
If
back.
I hear Casca fighting a dog, I'm out the window. I believe it.
Well, it's the neighbor's
Mhm.
dog, and he tries to get through the fence. So I'll be right back.
Oh,
Go ahead and
no.
start.
No worries. Go ahead. Yeah, Honor Still, did you want to riff a bit, or?
I'm trying to remember because I read quite a few chapters in, like the last couple of days. So where did I
That seems good.
start? Yeah, because I remember that we had like caught up to where the Reverend Mother had left, and then and then like sort of the next sort of few chapters are more sort of various people in the Atreides household, and yeah, and their sort of their interactions with Paul in particular. because as we know from last time,
What?
the Atreides house are going to the planet of Arrakis. So yeah, so we've got the Saphir Hawat. Yep, we've got him.
That was
Gurney
the best
Halleck.
Mentat ever.
Yeah. I kind of sort of forget that he is a mentat sometimes.
Because he's such a fucking
Mhm.
idiot.
Um,
Yeah, I know.
um, yeah, so we have, yeah, Saphir Hawat, Gurney Halleck. I like Gurney. I like him.
Gurney is
Um,
the father we all came to know and love, or something. I don't know. The weird uncle.
yeah, you know what? He is. He is kind of like the weird uncle, isn't he?
Mhm.
The nice weird uncle. That's such a good description.
He's the one
Yeah,
that
let's go
sneaks you
for real.
whiskey at Christmas.
Yes, he is. Although I wouldn't, but the whole scene of him, um, sparring with Paul, I'm kind of like, yeah, and the thing is, there's that one I kind of like, particularly that scene there with them sparring. I totally agree with it there. Um, but we can sort of talk about that later. And who else? Who else? Doctor Yu. I can't remember how to pronounce their name.
I always said Yui
The
Demodrad, or something.
Yui.
Demodrad, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Yui. Well, I was
Yeah.
watching some of it last night after I was
A
finished
fellow
reading some.
academic.
Well, I realized it was on demand on cable, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and record that and all that, and I fell asleep watching
Oh
Nice.
no.
it.
Yeah. And then yeah, and then there's a Duke Leto Atreides.
Mhm.
I read that
My
chapter as
man,
well. So I did manage to get through a lot, and I think
the
it's like
Duke
quite a
Leto
lot of
Atreides.
sort of thinking back, and I'm scrolling through the digital book that I've got on my phone. There is it is like a lot of chapters which focus on. I I don't. I'm not. I'm in kind of in two minds if it's a bit of an info dump, but kind of well done in that you are getting a very you're getting an sort of an insight into who these people are and who they are to Paul.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, it is a lot of information that he provided in a short amount of time. But yeah, like you said, I think he did a really good job of trying to convey all that information.
yeah. And I think that we picked up on like pretty much everybody here kind of said that Gary Halleck, he is like the weird uncle that would give you a small tot of whiskey, you know. Um, so I think that sort of characterization he's done a pretty good job of. So yeah, I actually quite enjoyed reading those again, um, and just picking up on all the different little uh, aspects of each character and that. But also then the other sort of bit of it is that um with Paul, he's obviously got a lot on his mind because he's been told so much from the Reverend Mother. Um and you can kind of sort of see with these he's processing all of this information and he's asking more questions and kind of getting, their
Sorry about that, chat.
insight and
Had to go
opinion.
get the kitty.
And in a way it's kind of you can see it's almost
There
like
you go.
they're
Love is
kind
a
of doing
result
like a
of
very
slaughter.
very condensed sort of bringing him on to be the Duke's heir. Yeah,
The
it seems like
Duke.
they kind of sort of realize that, oh shit, we need to do all this stuff.
Very true.
Yeah, that's what.
That's a really great
Let's
breakdown
see.
that Onyx has been giving us.
Halleck was kind of thinking to himself there at the time when he was fixing to leave Paul in the room that they were in, and he just kind of said, the child is going to assume his manhood. It just kind of seems like, I guess, it kind of almost caught everybody off guard, which
Yeah.
is pretty common when you're raising kids and teenagers, one day you look at them, you're like, holy shit, my son's going to be an adult now. And I thought that was also interesting that he added that thing that I think
Cheers,
all
chat.
parents
And here's to
and
the
all
Chad Fallout
older
76
family members that helped
podcast
raise, that
on the
he
Robots
kind of
Radio
added
Network.
that thought and that realization.
Check it out. There's Susie Ghoul. Moose. That is such a great reading that I've been hearing. I stood up once to get my cat, so I missed one thing, but also she's fine.
Oh, good.
She's just being
Is
a
she trying to
drama queen.
escape?
No, she has free reign during the daylight hours. Is our contract.
Ah.
I said you're totally free, cat. She's like, oh, and I'm like, yes, but only between the hours of X and Y. And she was like, that's fucked up, but that's our contract. So, cats aside, that's a great establishment of characters, and so that helps us because we've already talked a lot about where they're going and all that. Do you have a favorite yet, Repatriate?
I do not quite yet. I've actually read. They're already in Arrakis, as far as I read.
Oh yeah.
So since we haven't quite gotten that far, I did. One of the things that kind of helped in this part of the book is they explained the companies essentially that kind of run everything. So that was more
Chome
information because there's a
guilds.
and the Landsrad and stuff like that. So it was kind of good to have that background because I kind of allude a little bit to
Yeah.
it because it's more than just we're gonna move to another planet. I mean, there's a bigger story behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of like that because then when you go back to there was more with I think there was more mentioned in some of these about
My face is so bright.
the Reverend Mother.
Yes.
Yeah, there was more sort of mention there about. Oh no, I actually did read more. Yeah, I read the chapter with Jessica and the Reverend Mother. So I've read just before they're about to set off to Arrakis.
It's a little bit better.
Yeah, and you kind of sort of see, yeah. So I mean, there is like this big move in that, but there is, yeah, there is so much more going on, and it's. I don't know. You kind of get the feeling it is so much more bigger than just everybody in the Bene Gesserit and doing their thing as well. There's something else, kind of sort of hinted at. So, yeah, it's
Yeah. This section always trips me out, like how there's no chill option. I always feel like that's weird. Like staying isn't like on the table and stuff. It's just weird. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
And actually, yeah, and they don't ever talk about whether or not they're going to go back. It sounds like it's just the expectation that they're going to be there. So they are
right?
essentially giving up their home and moving to a new home in a new world and a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous planet. So that's another aspect to it, leaving safety and not only going somewhere new, but going somewhere incredibly dangerous. On top of that, that's got to be incredibly stressful.
Man, I need to pull up my curtains. I didn't want to have to block the sun, but it's hurting
that
my
was the other
vampire
thing.
skin.
Then there was
Yeah.
the revelation that the Duke made to his son.
Which was
that Paul has been trained to be a mentat as well. He's been given the mentat training.
right? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, just throw everything at this poor lad.
He's like, what about our family pets? Were they normal? He's like, no.
But then it also, and he talks about it too in the book, it explains how he processes information and how he sees the world.
Coffee time. Yeah, he can like compute instead of having to get stuck in whatever wet, slow way our brains work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always make sense to me though. I don't know. It reminded me of
Mm,
Orson Scott Card's Planet of like computer people or whatever who like stare at the floor and like trace wood grains.
Which one's that from? I need to read that.
That's in the Enders series. There's this planet where they've been conditioning and breeding people with OCD to like become the most powerful computing people, shall we say? But the cost is like they exist to like trace abnormalities in anything they see. So if they look down in the floor and see like the wood grain isn't perfect, they'll like follow it. I don't
Interesting.
know. It's a trip. And they like trace all of them in the room back and forth because they're like computing, you know?
Well, and that's a little bit of OCD too.
Yeah.
Gotta get to the end. Gotta get to the end.
Well, you want to see the end.
Yes.
And you can't really blame people for having cat-like desires of curiosity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think of mentats that way a bit, where they're like, I've got to crunch this data. And I'm like, how are you going to do that? And they're like, shut up, I am crunching this data. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, have you ever thought about astrophysics? And I'm like, who are you? What's going on? It's also Zen-like, so I think there are religious and secular takes on that, right? But it's like a trance state
Mm-hmm.
as well. And some mentats, like Pater de Vry or Vry, whatever, the Baron's mentat, they like use a ton of chemicals to help them. We talked about that last time. Be like even better.
Yeah.
And so he like steers his mind through like addiction and distortion the way the guilds kind of navigate like space basically with drugs to like think continuously at like rapid spaces. um, and so it's weird that you would condition your son to also be one of those people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I was wondering too, because I don't. Maybe they explained it and I totally missed it. How did they pick him? What kind of characteristics did he show? I guess as a toddler, practically, when they started that training. I mean,
Is this baby a computer? I don't know, let's find out.
he's counting all the petals on the daisy and multiplying them. I mean, how do you? Yeah, that's because obviously from the way they described it, it's not something that you choose to do. Like 15. Oh, I'm gonna go and do this when I grow up. It's something
yeah.
that's noticed in you when you're very
Yeah.
young.
The do. Yeah, so Paul says, but I thought mentat training had to start during infancy, and the subject couldn't be told because it might inhibit the early. He broke off. All his past circumstances come to focus in one flashing computation. I see, he said. And
Whoops.
then the Duke explains, a day comes when the potential mentat must learn what's being done, and it can no longer be done to them. Well, they say
Yeah,
him.
they have to agree to it.
Yeah,
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 kind of trippy, man.
I want to
yeah,
know how they know it's when they're a baby.
yeah.
It's almost
Well, it
like
kind
it doesn't
of,
matter, they just choose it for the baby.
yeah.
Kind of like these skulls on this bar. I'm sure they didn't want to be here, but here they are.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. No, I just sort of think it just kind of sort of make me wonder, and it is like when it talks about
Or
how
this big old cheap
what
squatch.
Paul's thinking, because he's thinking about this, all the special training from Hava and his mother, the mnemonics, the focusing of awareness, the muscle control and sharpening of sensitivities, study of languages, nuances of
Young
voices,
cat.
and some of it kind of sort of we know already that Jessica had been training Paul
Come here,
in some of
girlfriend.
the Bene Gesserit methods, and that the
Mhm.
Reverend Mother has recommended that he be trained further because he will need it.
Here.
Um,
Yeah.
and also the whole uh, Kwisatz Haderach thing as well.
There you are, friend.
Um, yeah, there was a lot said between those two about what Jessica had done too. I found that interesting.
Jessica's a trip. Because she was like supposed to make a girl to
Mhm.
wed to Fade Rotha, who's like hot but problematic, basically. Um, but then the other trippy thing about that is like Jessica's related to Baron. Jessica's the Baron's. Oops. Well, fuck it.
They
Anyways,
all have red
incest.
hair. It's probably gonna.
It's
Yeah.
Think
it's
about it.
not. It doesn't seem ethical any way you slice it. The plan that they have for her. You
Well,
know.
I think that's any of
Mm.
the Bene Gesserit, because that's kind of what they bred them for.
I think we're allowed to give away Benny Gesserit spoilers here because we're operating the way they do outside of time. So fuck it. But we'll try not to spoil too many other things unless we feel like it. But I feel like what I said is like fine because I don't want to feel bad.
Gonna find
But
out. I'm gonna find out later anyway. So,
oh, you hadn't read it, Honor?
um, well, the thing is, I've read the Dune books before, and there's bits and pieces that I remember, or like I'll come across it in the book on this read, and I'm like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that.
I'm
Mhm.
so sorry, friend.
No, it's okay. I would have figured it out. It's not a massive spoiler because I was sort of thinking about it. I was like, who is her? Who is her family? Who were her parents? So I mean, it's not a massive surprise to me. I was like, oh yeah, I think I remember that.
Think about it this way. Now when you get to whatever the hell the conclusion is, you can be all smug about one detail and be like, "Well, Herbert, you didn't fool me here." Um, but yeah, the Bene Gesserit. Let's just talk about other families then. They routinely interbreed families, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, why is that so-called like altruism? Why is that like making people quote unquote human? And they're like, it is, and I'm like, no, why? And they're like, shut up or we'll stab you. And I'm like, oh, they're- yeah, I don't hate them. You know what I mean? I'm just like, why are you guys like so much?
Well, it's almost akin to um, in British royalty. Once upon a time, they had kingmakers.
Oh
I
my
mean, and they were
gosh.
kind of the ones behind the scenes that said, "Well, we've decided this person's going to be king, and we're going to set up this marriage with this, princess or whatever, and kind of push society along." So they
Mm.
may act like they have altruistic intentions, but I think it's probably quite the opposite. They're
Oh,
trying to
absolutely.
twist everything to what they think
Huh.
is right, but then they feel justified because they have that ability to, oh, what's the think outside the mind, basically, I guess, to see things that
They're
normal
like
humans
better than
don't see.
mentats, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's like, why bother making people mentats too? Like, I don't know.
That was the whole man will not make a machine in the
Hmm.
yeah.
I mean, they need them, but really, realistically, all they need are like Ixian machines that can do simple tasks but not help. Like, all you need to do is not build Omnius again, who. This isn't a spoiler for this book. This is Butler and Jihad stuff, but he was the first sentient machine to rebel and enslave Homo sapiens. And it happened because the Titan Xerxes was so indolent as to give him total control over everything so that he could be more hedonistic. The Titans were like 7 or 9 or 50, I don't know, a certain amount of like Elon Musk style technocrats that were disgusted with the level of apathy of the human race at the splendor period of the first human empire, because such excess existed, with machine laborers, that no one lived poorly, and thus no one had volition. The Titans alone felt that they had volition, and so they built weaponized AI and enslaved the rest of the human race to show them how foolish they were? Question mark. And thus, when Xerxes gave control to his Omnius, Omnius inverted all the power the Titans had used to enslave humanity to thus enslave the Titans, and therefore
Mm.
becoming the sort of Mr. House of the entire universe. Much ado later, they killed him. So we need mentats.
And then basically outlawed computers.
Yeah, but because they have like a religious fervor behind it, people have like a kind of fundamentalist view of technology, as we've already established, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like if they could just stop being stupid, people wouldn't have to be mentats. But like, they're so fearful
Mm-hmm.
that like a really good calculator would just be out of line.
Well, and one thing they talk about too with Paul being a mentat of just kind of rereading this stuff is that, and the Duke talks about a mentat Duke would be formidable indeed, and then Paul starts to talk about being a mentat is a terrible purpose, but then previously he also talks about he feels like a terrible purpose is growing inside him. And so
Mm.
that's kind of a, I guess, interesting side note.
It's also like
Because
a
they don't
really good
Yeah.
really,
description of teen angst, you know?
yeah.
He's like, I feel so much purpose inside of me. His dad's like, that's, you want to have a beer?
Yeah. I just suppose you could also put it down to he's heard a lot of things of some pretty awful things about Arrakis as well and how
What's up,
dangerous it
Spike
is and
Jones? Yeah, we're
what
having a
people are
Vaultec
like
University
and
lecture. We're
everything
talking
like that.
about
And
Frank Herbert's Dune, book
anybody
one.
of any
How are
age,
you
no
living?
matter how many times
Spike
they've moved,
Johnson?
um up in sticks and moving
We're
home
before the House
is
Atreides
quite a
hit
nerve-wracking
the planet
thing.
Arrakis, but we've established that they are
Um,
leaving,
Yeah, leaving
you
home,
know,
leaving friends, leaving school,
as Repatriate says.
leaving everything you know behind.
yeah. Um,
I think that's actually probably harder as a teenager than as a little kid because you've established yourself, unless you're one of the people that, moves quite frequently. But, you've established yourself
Yeah, I mean,
in
I'm
a
sure it's never
location.
easy, right?
That is
yeah.
very true.
Yeah. So no, so it's hard to. It's. I mean, I know it's not the case later on, but yeah. At this point, you sort of think, yeah, it's all a bit of a whirlwind for Paul.
Right.
Oh, in fact, I did read further because I think we were on the. I must have missed. I must have missed one of the
Sometimes the skulls in the
chapters
throne
because I'm
look like
pretty sure I
rocks.
read one where they're actually on the guild transport.
Nice.
That goes really quick.
That's so cool, though. They're like, oh, what's all this? And he's like, it's just a giant spaceship. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm
that's
trying.
one thing they
I'm
don't really talk about, at least at this point in the book, that they address really early in the movie is how they travel, the folding of space.
Right. Herbert's rather clever to leave such important things so indiscernible at this point, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't want to define the ship, basically. I don't want to, like, ruin the way you would imagine space being folded, because he's like, what does that mean? Yeah. But we can talk about it, I think, and establish what we think it would look like. I think that's awesome to think about.
It's kind of hard to, at least for me, to kind of wrap my brain around because the closest thing that I have knowledge of is say like Interstellar when he goes through the wormhole.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty much the extent of what I can envision as far as space travel. But
Hey, look,
there's
we've got
going to
another
be,
student.
yeah. Hey, Spike.
Welcome to Vault-Tec University Raider Edition. Nice. From the Twitch chat to the fire chat. Ashes to ashes. Now I have to redo all of the photos.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got to get more photos.
We'll do that later.
We're chit chatting. Yeah, if you want to read Dune, you can join us anytime.
Or you could like watch the movie and then just listen to us and be like, I
Yeah.
think this. I accept
I
that
really
too.
need to watch the film.
The films
I
are
really
fun.
need to watch the film.
They're not perfect, right? I think Dune
Yeah.
2021 will be perfect, and that's why it's not out yet, because reality
can't wait
hasn't
for
been
that one.
worthy of
I
it.
can't wait for
Yeah.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
It deserves
just-
a proper reality. It's like a chrysalis. You know, you don't want Sarah Kerrigan to emerge before she's ready to be the Queen of Blades.
Hmm.
Spoilers.
I'm trying to think.
Well,
Who's
I
playing what
discovered
character?
Zendaya is the what's her name, and then
Oh,
she's yeah,
Chani.
Chani, yeah.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh. I
Paul
can't wait to talk
is
about a certain scene with Shawnee.
Tim Chalamet, I think.
Yeah, that guy that all the kids like.
Yeah.
You know the one.
I did
Besides
discover
Justin
last night watching the movie that I am still traumatized by the part where Baron Harkonnen goes and, I don't know, does he eat the kid?
Bieber.
You know what I'm talking about? He's got like
It's a dark
he's
place
got some.
in our lives.
I'm still
That-
like I was watching it going, yep. Still traumatized by that.
And so, just so you know, like that's not like a body embodiment bashing thing on Herbert's part, because the Baron did that his whole life. Like when he was a model fit, like tank of a human being that like ripped people apart with his bare hands, he still also killed children like that.
It was
He's
was
your
disturbing.
Baron.
I was laughing at myself going, this traumatized me at, I don't know, 10 when I first watched the movie. I'm 42 and I'm still traumatized by this scene.
Yeah, I'm like maybe not, Frank, and he's like, you will see this.
And I still don't
Ugh.
understand what happened.
Right.
Maybe best. Maybe best that you don't try and understand.
Right. I
know.
think he's actually offering you a way out there too. He's like,
All
the
I can
door's
think of
here.
is it looks like he's trying to eat his blood or something. I
That's
don't know.
Part of it. Are you talking about like Lynch's adaptation? Because that's a whole nother can
Yes.
of worms.
Yeah,
Alright.
well, that's the one I watched because I've
The
seen
scene
that
itself
one.
is gruesome enough in text before we even get
Yeah.
to David Lynch playing Eraserhead with it.
Oh, I adore
Oops, I just
him.
took a
I
bad
think he's
screenshot.
done some crazy, crazy, crazy shit, and I think all of it is amazing.
I'll fight for
Um,
Twin Peaks to my death, but I was
The first
angry
one
when
or
I
the
watched
second
Eraserhead.
one? The second one,
I've only watched the TV show from the old days.
okay. I did very much enjoy that. Actually, do you have the soundtrack? Because I swear I heard the Black Dog Runs at Night at some point, either
Me?
while we were playing something or yeah, you.
I don't know what you talking about.
Because I have all the soundtracks for it. Because I've seen the first series, and then Fire Walk with Me,
Huh.
and I watched the second one, and it
Probably
was
just a
even
ghost or
weird
something.
by his standards. Sorry,
Where
got
did I
off
put my
track there.
charger, chat? This is bad. Huh. Phone's gonna go out. No, that's chill. Oh, nukes are flying. Anyways,
Nuclear strike
As long as they're not here.
It's not here, thankfully.
well, we have vaults now, so it's like great. It's like we can finally just be like, well, let the bombs fly. We really are vault
Lots of-
dwellers now, you know?
Somebody had said on one of the chats that they do a book club, and every time they do it, they end up having some griefers that come in and they've been nuked, which I thought was terrible.
It's been my history in Fallout. That's why we PvP so well now. It's okay. That's a whole nother story. Yeah, so I mean, the Baron's a legitimately bad character, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets. So that's there for you, chat. Um, I think that helps establish the way in which the protagonists behave, because they're very much like, for example, a Tolstoyan, like a protagonist in a Tolstoy book, right? Will routinely have like perhaps hundreds of serfs, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is tantamount to being a slave owner. And they're supposed to be like these jolly good people, right? We're supposed to learn from them. They're supposed to be our heroes. But at the end of the day, they live fat on the blood of workers, right? So too of Paul and the Duke. No matter how nice they were to Caladan, right? No matter how
Mm-hmm.
much rice they farmed with them in the summers of their youth, as is the Atreides tradition, which is quite noble and proper, um, it is still the people who labor, right? They wake earliest, they harvest the most
Mm.
rice, they die the youngest, they taste the least amount of delicacies, and on and on and on and on, right? And we're still meant to say, well, the Atreides, though, are good, right? Um, and I would argue they are, right? But it's like complicated because it's like, well, what the hell are our standards for goodness if our heroes are already essentially like a class of slave owners, um, I don't know. Dune really, I think about it like 12 waves and like, what the hell's going on? Sitting in the fire is
Mm.
such a good idea, Spike.
Sorry, I was getting cold, so
I need to turn you up. I can't hear you, brother. Let's
it's
get you louder.
inspired by a fiery story.
Okay.
But
Oops,
do continue.
what a polite fellow. Classic
Connor,
polite
you
raider.
said you got to where they were on the planet.
Eh, On the, I think there was or was there
Oh,
was there a chapter where they mention they're on the transport? I can't remember. I seem to remember reading Paul being told to not be too nosy about
being trolled.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't be too nosy about what's on the ship. Just kind of go in, find your place, sit down, and read a book. Well,
Kind of
you're not
sucks.
supposed to
yeah,
read the book, but watch the film or whatever it was that Yui gave him.
He's like, play with your kitty
yeah,
games, basically.
Here's your Game Boy.
yeah.
Go sit down.
Yeah, you don't really. Yeah, yeah. Paul's like asking about what the the highliner um are like. Yeah, and this is Paul's first time off planet,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so it kind of sort of says, yeah, it says, we'll, I mean, we're taking like they are taking ships, and they are just going to be in like a corner of that, and then there's so much more space.
Nice.
Um, and Paul's asking, oh, so we'll be able to leave the frigates? Nope. And he's like, well, he says there could be Harkonnen ships right alongside us, and we'd have nothing to fear from them
Yeah.
um, because it's everybody when they're on the guild ships, they have to play nice with
Mm-hmm.
each other. Otherwise, they lose shipping privileges. And
It's like when Ken's in the voice chat, no one's allowed to be a dick. I don't
That
know.
is true.
um, so
Neutral territory.
yeah, and it's quite interesting because in like earlier chapters, it's mentioned that assassins and spies and that use the transport to get around the different planetary systems and that, and it's quite a strange neutral place, really. I almost sort of think
Yeah.
it's almost now that I think of it,
Talking
it's
about guild
almost like
highliners right now,
when you're in
everybody.
like an
In
airport
Frank Herbert's
departure
Dune, Vault
lounge.
Tech University lecture series. We got Spike
It's
Wilson on the
just
fire
it's
pit
just like a
looking through
strange
Honor
place out of
Steele's
time
bunker.
almost.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Time
their
doesn't
podcast
exist
character
there.
from the Far From Heaven
Oh, and they talk about the
podcast.
guildsmen a little bit
I love when they do
too,
that.
because they're the ones that
Yeah.
controlled space.
I like thinking about that. I don't know if I would do it, but
Well,
well,
you
It,
maybe once.
basically become. I mean, you have to take so much spice that it
Mutates you, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
have to
when you watch
become
the
one
movie, you
dirty
see him and you're
hippie.
like, ew, oh my god, that was a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange because I know it's not really sort of talked about, but they are like the guilds are very very protective.
Mhm,
Nobody, not even some of the guild agents actually see
mhm,
the pilots.
Right, right.
Um,
If you work in an embassy, for example, for the banking guild, you have no true notion of the real nature of the guild because you don't rank high enough to know anything.
yeah. But no, the kind of it's almost like in later books I almost sort of like when I read them like years ago. I almost sort of like visualize them as being similar to what um Paul or his descendants sort of become. I can't remember who it was, but one of his descendants or something that like I don't know became almost like a sandworm himself.
Ah,
oh yeah,
yes, the God
Um,
yep,
Emperor, the second Duke Leto.
yeah, and I
yep,
kind of sort of almost sort of thought, are they kind of similar like that because of the sort of the connection with like spice? And I wonder if maybe they almost become something similar. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, the human worm thing that is in later books, I just kind of thought I
mhm,
just cannot imagine that ever looking pleasant.
Yeah, it's excruciating for him, actually. I think it's cool that we're
Mm,
talking about Dune out of time because that's how I like to think about it. Um, I view the whole thing as like an atemporal document that we, the audience, are viewing almost in whatever our contemporaneous time is, whether it be future or past. Because of how people like the Duke Leto II, the God Emperor, and Paul see time, or the Bene Gesserit in the Guild. And I very much, Honored Steel, think of the Guild as related to the weird worm shape that he becomes, because it's like, you know what I mean? It's related to the worm spice bullshit, and it's like that organic, odd mutation factor that we know so much about here in this game. Where the FEV can turn you into a giant green monster with like a semi quasi hive mind almost.
mhm.
Or your mindset to meat and selling stuff
Meat.
like Ram.
Graham's such a good guy.
Yes.
Anyone who loves meat as much as he does, but like cherishes Charlie beyond measure, like what a hero.
Yeah, it's kind of a contradiction there, but yeah, it's
It's
funny.
hilarious. As we roast ourselves for Forder.
Let's call it mutation.
The sleeping pose is quite good for the fire pit.
It
Oh
is.
yeah, lying out, just relaxing on the fire.
But the weird thing about the worm emperor guy is like, because he's a worm, he can infuse himself with like the amount of given alleged prescience that he desires, ish, whenever he wants. Sort of like the way I describe Powder DeVry navigating his mental limits with like a mixture of narcotics, ups and downs, depending on where he feels he's at. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
the worm emperor, the god emperor, would do that with like spice infusions he would like give himself. You know what I mean? Um, whereas Paul has to like almost risk his life and sanity to try and do that. Um, so that's kind of the difference between them, right? Is like a guild steersman will just live in the spice, a navigator or whatever,
mm.
in a tank forever. Kind of like those cool FEV tank super mutants that we get to place is like that, but like inside of it is like a fish person probably. And then the way they fold space is so weird because, for example, one of the first sentient computers in the Butlerian Jihad series, um, warped out an entire island and disappeared, and no one knows where it is. Um, it folded space. Folding space doesn't need like rocket fuel. You know what I mean, guys? It doesn't need like plasma or something. It's a strange, uncanny thing. What do you all think about it? Like, it's definitely not like you accelerate your rocket boosters, drop to liquid fuel, you know, like the space shuttle, right? And then, like, finally drop your liquid fuel booster and coast into orbit, right? With your thrusters. It's like after that, the ship stopped in orbit, and then somehow you, like, mentally connect its presence with, like, another place and, like, realize that, like, distances and space and time don't actually mean what we think they mean, and somehow you shift reality, right? It's quite trippy.
I kind of think of it
Yeah.
as like in Star Wars where they all go to warp speed, so it goes super fast. But then I actually envision like a fold, like a box folding, and then they go through it, and then they slow down and basically stop, kind of like they do coming out of warp speed.
It's like, to me, it's like there is an ability that's always there. Because Frank Herbert's always saying in the Orange Catholic Bible, he's having them quote, like, what senses do we lack that we can't see, blah, 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 what we're blind to, kind of thing. Um, you know? So it's almost like there's always the ability to fold space, I would argue. Like, it's always there, I would say. Like, the way gravity is, you know? Is my postulation. And so, what a steersman is able to do is to just realize that, basically. And so, at any given moment, probably any given thing could move any given distance, and that's the difference between mortals and gods, or something, is like realizing that, or something. Like the mathematical equations of reality, or whatever. And for Herbert, I guess. And
Like
so,
deja vu.
what's that?
Like deja vu, you mean?
Like when you, like the deja vu, like a movie, or like the actual thing?
No, the actual thing, like deja vu is having that moment where it happens, but you're not sentient of it. You mean something like that?
I think so.
Well, it's almost like, I mean,
Whoops, get posed.
Irish like Death Stranding. The beach is there. The beach is always there,
Yes.
but only some people can use the beach to travel.
Yes. Oops, there it is. Yeah,
Or
the
how
beach is a
there's-
great metaphor, because it's like, it's not that like you hit the beach by like killing enough BTs or dying or something. It's like, no, you just like became aware of what was always like kind of latent, you know?
Yeah, and learned how to
Yeah.
use it.
And it's not even invisible. It's like trying to describe music to someone who exists without the audio realm, you know, as part of their lives. They will have to hear about music without your audio details. They'll have to learn about it through maybe vibrations or color or something, you know? And they'll never really know what you heard, probably. Um, and so I think about it that way, where it's like these navigators sacrifice their bipedal, mobile, non-spice addicted bodies, and even actually kind of like their true consciousness, because Spike described it in terms of a kind of non-sentient sentience or a non-sentient awareness, and I think that's pretty dope, because like they definitely zone the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they trip out in the tanks, and like someone's like, okay, it's time for this ship to dip, and they're like, I've been waiting to do this. I would love to do that, and then they do it instantly. You know?
Mm.
But like I
So
said, yeah, go ahead. Oh,
yeah,
we got a huzzah in the house.
my sort of
Let's redo
view of
that.
it was a bit boring in that I thought, okay, so you've got mentats that use spice to sort of enhance their abilities, and spice is what made them and stuff like that. And I kind of thought, I wonder if there's a bit of like mentat
Huzzah!
ability about them, and that there's a lot of thinking and calculation in order to do it, but something, not but something that mentats are not capable of, and but there's sort of the idea of, like, I don't know, almost being like another dimension or another bit of reality that only these people can see and use. Yeah.
Well, maybe something that they show a bit more of an aptitude for at some point. And then they say, all right, let's load you up with all this spice and do this. Because I think they would actually have to, pretty much probably have to be mentats. Because, like you
Who
said,
would?
they've got to do all the computations, they got to figure the whole thing out. So I'd imagine that they pretty much would have to. Because I don't think your average human would have the capabilities of that thought.
You're kind of onto
Mm.
something there. There's got to be a correlation, huh? Because like they're computing like, would it be safe to have moved past this black hole at this moment? Would it be safe to have like passed here, or would a star allegedly have moved here when we would have moved here and stuff like that? Yeah, they basically do like a huge geometry puzzle. Um, yeah, I don't know if any of the films have really done that justice to me, but the text definitely leaves it kind of vague. I will say that the text says the guild highliners are massive, like bigger than anyone's fleet, the size of cities, stuff like that. Probably bigger than cities. So you've got to imagine there's immense workforces somewhere making these, right? It's interesting that they decide to limit space travel so much, given that they can make things that large, you know?
Well, I'd imagine they also have to look at the cost. I mean, you have to maintain those ships. You've got the people that run, work everything, and then you've got the guildsmen too. I would wager they're not overflowing in that population, so they need to make sure that they don't overtax them, I guess.
They probably cost an absolute fortune to make if it requires an immense amount of spice as well.
Mhm.
And
Totally.
like, I mean, like a fistful of spice is incredibly valuable. I think that was mentioned. And certainly
Yeah, you could like get a
pro-
good estate or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. And that was certainly mentioned in like the Duke's sort of talk with Paul about that, and it's yeah, because I know we mentioned like last time, yeah, there's like a trap there, and the Duke is certainly well aware of what he is walking into as well. So
Right. That's a good thing to point out. You keep us on task, Honor and Steel, and I'm thankful for it.
no, it's alright. I like talking about all these other things as well. It's
So the planet is a trap, and the Baron is setting the trap, and Piter created the trap for the Baron. Um, Out of the ashes of the Baron's failure to actually make Arrakis profitable, because the Harkonnen way of brutality um, somewhat backfires when met with the Fremen style of independence. Because it's like, okay, you're gonna tax and whatever the hell in the city. Well, we will actually literally never be near a city at all. You know, like we consider anyone even by your cities a fake person. So fuck you is like how they are. To the extent where the Harkonnens have no idea that the Fremen exist barely. They're like they're there, but like not there. And so
Well, they had never bothered to, because what was
count
it they were
them.
talking about?
They
Yeah,
didn't-
they were
yeah.
talking about how many are there. Well, we know there's more than one, but I don't know.
That's a
Which,
very
in my
Tolstoy
thought,
moment
that's
too.
something you would want to know. You're going to take over a planet, take over
Yeah.
a business. Essentially, you need to know what you've got.
There's this scene in Anna Karenina where Stefan Dorkogdovich is like selling his estate in the country, and his friend Levin is with him, and he's like, "Have you counted the trees?" And Kogovich is like, "Well, no. Who cares about that? We don't need to count the trees. It's no deal of importance." And Levin's like, "Well, if you'd counted the trees, you would realize you're being extorted by this merchant, and you're letting him pay you with credit, which means you're giving him the favor of your extortion, and on and on." That's very much like what I see happening, you know. Um, where for the Harkonnens, where they're like, they think they have this grandiose trap, but like in fact, since it's so obvious. Like Leto knows, and he's like, what we're gonna do is ruin their trap for them. You know.
Mhm.
And I think no matter what, no matter how fucked up their situation is, that's a huge advantage to realize that you're in a fight. You know.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And he knows that. I think he's kind of got a good idea that the Sardkar are involved as well, and by extension
Yeah.
the Emperor.
Yeah.
Um, and also that is it Paul? I think Paul kind of sort of figures out that somebody, Harkonnens. Well, they know it seems to be like an open secret that the Harkonnens have been stockpiling spice for 20 years, and
Mhm.
part of this whole thing is
Yeah.
to throw off the whole spice market, because they've stockpiled. So if they can disrupt spice production on Arrakis when the Atreides have taken over, the Harkonnens could swoop in and sell all their stockpile. And I think the guild would not like that because
Right.
yeah,
Because
I
they
don't
have
think the guild would
stockpiles
appreciate
too.
that.
They've done favors to get their stockpiles, and so like they're gonna end up looking like idiots, basically. And they
Mm-mm.
will be like financially fucked for sure. Um,
Mm.
Well, and
and
that's
like they have no power beyond the ability to fold space. So like they have no military. They have nothing. Like no agriculture. Like if this happens, they literally have to kill themselves, basically. Like they're really truly in a pathetic position, honestly. As evil as they seem, you know, like they're truly fucked.
If this all goes wrong, it's a huge gamble.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, I often feel really bad for the guild because I'm like, you guys just like have no options, and yeah, that sucks.
Well, I think one thing that the Harkonnens also banked on when they were stockpiling the spice was the people that the I guess off-worlders that are kind of harvest. I guess that's probably the right way to say it. They all are going to leave because the regime is changing. They don't know what's going to happen as far as pay, as far as, are these guys going to be assholes too? Are they going to treat us better? I don't want to risk it. Let's go. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, so there's like ornithopters that they seem to fly around. There's frigates.
Yeah.
There's highliners. And only guilds have highliners. People can have frigates. You would routinely have many ornithopters. And then there's also spice harvesters, just going through all like the cool like Command and Conquer style like units. um,
Mm.
there
It's
are
funny though, because it is
lifters,
like
right?
the video game is like Command and Conquer, or one of the
Totally.
games is.
Seeker Boss said that the Dune video game established or helped build Command and Conquer or something like that.
Oh wow.
It wouldn't surprise me, yeah, because it was before.
Yeah. Seeker Boss is
They
here to
did
say hello, by
do.
the way.
Hey, Seeker.
Hello. They did do like another game, because I think there was like one that was quite, oh, it was years and years and years ago, like you really start before I had like a PC. And then like they had another one which was very, yeah, it was like around the time when Command and Conquer was out, the series.
Let's get her going.
Um I know my brother played that. I didn't really get into that, and it was very different from the books. Even like some of the houses that you could play, like you could play the Ix and the Tilaxu, or you could have them as support. I think it was
What
quite
was it like
strange.
to play as the Ix or the Tilaxu?
Uh, Certainly a bit strange because I mean, well, the Ix have got all they are like um they are
There
known
it
for
is.
their technology. They make the best technology. Um,
Yeah.
and having the Tilak, which was really great. I mean, like you could have like, oh, there was things that would create holograms to make look like you had more units than you
That's
actually
so
had.
cool. That's straight out of the like lit. That's great. What else? What else?
Mhm.
Sorry.
I can't remember much about the Talaxu, but they definitely focused much more on their biological creations. That's all I can sort of
Yeah, that
say.
was so cool that Spike Johnson came through with Patriot Girl. And
Yeah,
Secret Boss
their
is
face
confirming the Command
dancers
and
and that, and
Conquer
even
and
in
Dune
like the
connection.
cutscenes and that, there was like a lot
Thank you,
of
Secret.
about the face dancers and the Talaxu being the horrible people that they are.
They suck.
They do. They do.
I really don't like them.
No, I especially don't like them in the books.
Yeah.
Um,
Because, like, if everyone else has serfs, they actively kidnap free people and then, like, organ harvest them. And they're like, would anyone like some organs? And I'm like, God damn you guys.
yeah. That makes me think of like the scavs in Cyberpunk.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely hated them in the. I kind of sort of largely played like a non-violent, or at least a non-lethal sort of playthrough on my first run through
super
that
respect
game,
that.
and so like all my I totally forgot like all my weapons had like non-lethal mods on them, with the exception of my legendary mantis blades, and pretty much guarantee that as soon as I was dealing with scavers, yeah, the mantis blades came out. Um, there are some bits in that game though which definitely sort of push you towards to hate them.
Mantis
Um,
Blade.
and yeah,
95 Command and Conquer
I
Westwood.
absolutely hate them. But yeah, Talaxia, I think from my
Whoa.
personal feeling, I
Thank you
think
for that cheer,
it's
Seeker.
because they kind of, I mean, the guild
100
navigators, you can
bits.
kind of sort of understand because I mean,
Yeah.
of what they do
Them
is
flowing on the
just
screen.
so mind blowing what they do. Mentats, again, it's like, well, that is pretty amazing what they do, with all
Yeah.
their training. But what the Talaxu do, in that they so fundamentally, I think, particular with their I can't remember, but what they use to
Ooh.
grow people.
Yeah, when they make golas out of skin cells, right?
Yeah, and I just kind of think the way that they what they do, and it is other people that they use. Um, I just kind of sort of think it's just so horrible because they just fundamentally reduce just a person who is so much more
Turn up the
to
brightness.
just serve a function, and I just sort of think it's just horrible.
And they
It's
maintain their religious moral superiority on everyone.
yeah, and and that I just
While being, like, clearly worse than the Harkonnens. Like, honestly, I hate the Talaxu more than the Harkonnens, you know?
mm,
The Harkonnens are the worst ever. They have huge slave pits. You know, like Gurney Halleck's family were slaves on Gidi
mhm.
Prime, and like his sister was taken to a pleasure house, and it was horrible. Um,
Yeah,
He
he was certain she
mentions
was no
that.
longer alive. Yeah, he's
yeah.
like, I'm sure she's not alive
No,
anymore.
his backstory is like so heartbreaking. And his
Mm,
family didn't like even lift a finger. That was how extensive the Harkonnen brutality was. That the majority of slaves would rather watch it all happen, you know? Because the blowback is just like instant death and like pain.
That's a whole other level of helplessness and hopelessness.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not even worse.
it's hard for me to judge it. I'm just like, they're totally fucked. Like when you're
Yeah.
on Gidi Prime that way. But and it's not even a hell world, you know? It's just like an industrial world. It kind of sucks. Like it's got like Quicksilver oceans and stuff like that, but like there are worse places to be.
mm. Yeah, I think what I dislike about the Talaxu is that they kind of almost sort of like strip people of their humanity, um, to serve. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's what I kind of dislike about them.
Ooh, Gamma's cool too.
At least is on Giri Prime, at least people are, I don't know.
Well, you're not strapped into a tank. Like here's a deeper level. The Talaxu
Mm,
have no women. All of their women are turned into axolotl tanks, which is how it all happens.
yeah.
So
Thank you for reminding me of the name because I couldn't remember what it was, and I was like, oh wait, it's
yeah,
named after a strange amphibian.
they literally render all of their women and any women they can get into mechanisms, actual mechanisms for their schemes. Everything they do comes out of the enslavement of their women in a brutal, like cyberpunk, steampunk, gross vat tank lifestyle. Like, yeah, you know, like hoses, the works. I really don't like them. So, but they will keep coming up. They're persistent and they will stay in the series. It's really annoying. Um, since you remember God Emperor, they're a severe issue at that point because their face dancers
Mm,
develop really well. But
yes.
we've gotten ahead of ourselves. So as we fly to Dune, we need to be getting ready to meet Shoutout Mapes
Mhm.
and Stilgar, and some of these water merchant characters might be fun to know briefly. They're going to be interesting. We're going to get to see some examples of Ixian technology really soon, um, as well as a certain like character portrayal of Paul that a lot of fans and enjoyers of Dune use to sort of like prove he's not a cold-hearted bastard.
Hmm.
But I'm interested in whether or not we think Paul is like cold, you know?
I don't think
It's
he
hard.
is quite yet. I mean, there's very much, he's a teenager, so got that, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
quite there yet.
The terrible purpose.
No. I mean, he shows signs of it, but I think more now that you understand the training that he has been subject to without his knowledge, the mentat training and things like that, you can kind of sort of understand that the way he views everything will be through the lens of a mentat.
Yeah, like a computer, which is like, well,
Yeah.
there goes that. It's probably not going to
Yeah.
paint a painting
Which
anytime soon.
and it is like, I mean, like we mentioned the little sort of introductions to each chapter, and it's mentioned that he had no siblings, no other children of his age around him. Um it was all of the Duke's advisors, so Gurney Halleck, Duncan Idaho, and Thufir Hawat and that. So
Yeah, so
it's
Duncan is also a former Harkonnen slave, um, and he broke out of the slave pits. So you've
mm,
got two former slaves who are like hardened veteran intergalactic soldiers on par with the Emperor's honor guard in terms of killing ability. Those are his best friends. Um, you have his mom who's like, "Would you like to learn how to kill a
Attention,
guy
citizens.
with your thumb?" And he's like,
Nuclear
"What, mom?" And
strike
she's like, "It's
imminent.
really easy, son."
Please
Stuff like
execute
that.
them before the next invasion.
He's like, "Mom, you said we were going to the zoo," and she's like, "We are,
Operation.
but also, you know." Um, and then like, yes, Gurney Halleck will like play a song and be charming, but he'll also be like, "Did you insult my honor? Fight me to the death." Like that's really, as much as a child should know Gurney can't kill him. It's pretty terrifying. I hear to people when their mentors like do stuff like that. I've had to walk back my like tough love approach in the classroom because like what I had been doing when I teach would be like tough love appearance, and then grading times I would be really soft, and then like that would like soften the critical distance. But I'm learning that that actually terrifies people, so I've started to rethink what it would be like for Paul, right? And then of course Thurthur Howat is a mentat, and he's literally like he can kill anyone basically. Him and Piter are like really good killers, so he's not gonna like give you a butterbeer.
no.
It's just like
I
not
love
very soft for the child.
no. I mean that whole scene with Gurney Halleck when they're fighting and
Thank you for
that
lurking, Seeker.
and it
Have
is
fun in
like a
DayZ,
really
bro.
harsh lesson. And I think that scene where Gurney is sort of reflecting on it, he realizes um I mean, it's interesting when you sort of read some of the things that are said, and that the Reverend Mother does feel that Paul has been coddled a little bit and is a little bit timid and soft, and that and then you have that with Gurney Halleck, where he is just sort of like, they are fighting as if they were fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
And I agree with him in the situation. It's like you're going to a very dangerous planet, and you're going to be extremely vulnerable. You're no longer protected here. Um, it's
You have
I
to
totally
know how to take care
understand.
of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And and
Yeah,
part of that
water.
is attached to his
Hydration.
loyalty to Leto, and it would, and also I think it's his own personal pride as well. If if by his poor teaching, if by the quality of his teaching that Paul died because he hadn't
I should
trained him
change my
well
facial
enough, I
expression
think
to
he'd
happy.
feel quite bad about that, and I totally get that.
Yeah,
You want to do your students justice and train them well so that they've got all the
that'll
tools
do.
to um to be able to survive. And but I do agree with his method, and that it's like, well, he's like he's like, well, I think when he starts up the combat dummy, and he's like, well, I'm going to use some new counters this time. He's like, no, that's something you're not going to get from somebody that's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
um so it is a very harsh way, but and to kind of sort of recognize that it's like, well, if you are doing any sort of martial arts of any kind, I just sort of think, yeah, if you're going to be sparring, then yeah, it should be fun and enjoyable, but also you should be doing this as if you are in a competition, or you are fighting somebody else. You know, don't go easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, and Gurney Halleck's approach, yeah, I totally agree. And I think Paul kind of sort of comes to appreciate that. But also Gurney is a bit sort of like, well, actually, I haven't done quite such a bad job because yeah.
Yeah. So basically a martial background. He's a lot like I keep using like Tolstoy and like Frederick the Great as examples because I think Herbert is really exploring the imperial model of existence when the Homo sapiens try
Mm.
to be empire, or trying to see the limits of that or something. Um, yeah. And so like those nobles all kind of did that. And I think maybe like some of our contemporary like CEOs that do dynastic style stuff probably run their children through this. In the United States, I think an example of that recently was the college admissions fraud that is now sort of a Netflix documentary, of course, and how sort of the elite of the wealthy class, perhaps still mercantile, right? Because we don't really have royalty in the U.S. They like were bribing their students into better colleges than they'd earned their way into, blah blah blah. So that kind of stuff is sort of like why they push Paul so hard, because they can't afford to do that, whereas like the Harkonnens do bribe like everyone. Um, hey, we completed Death from Above.
Well done. Oh no!
Oh shit.
I got disconnected.
It's
Oh,
because we
'cause
talked about college admission scandals, and now the wealthy are mad at us.
And we quit moving.
Yeah, I kind of sort of thought, oh, I haven't been moving.
Now we're in the void between atomic shops. Bethesda's like, you shouldn't be here. You can't be here.
Yay, we're back.
Yeah, I'm just loading in now.
And then the
That's
beauty
funny.
of where you've camped is that even if you hadn't loaded in, there would still be some structures for us to shelter in. But it's so much better with your build. And yet, it's so subtle. I think the cooking stove minecart thing really did a lot for this camp.
Just those little things, yeah.
It just, I don't know, it just does a lot, you know?
This is a grill I would 100% use in real life.
Well, it's not propane,
Yeah.
but
I adore it.
it's alright for the apocalypse. You know, when you
Probably
can't
some
get a
really
clean
tasty
burning
burgers
fuel.
off of that.
We got Ace the Raider bot.
Ace is a hero. He hasn't once said he wants to burn the camp down, so that's good.
Oh, he has before.
Oh. So he's just in a good mood today then.
Yeah.
Yep, and then you can just run down to the White Springs and raise hell whenever you need. New server, new outfit. Let's go with...
Right.
Oops, that's
I am
not what
back
it
in the
is.
shelter.
Okay.
Coming down.
I need, once I get letter lights, I'm gonna steal a friend's idea for the animatronic clown. Friend Fluffy has the clown as her. He takes your coats.
Oh.
That's awesome. Least creepy use ever.
I still think it's quite creepy.
Yeah, I mean, that clown's hard to get around. So now if I sit down, I have to think about this skirt that I'm wearing.
Skirt that you're wearing.
Yes, I changed outfits because we changed
Oh.
levels.
No.
Oh.
We'll just be able to see your undies, most likely.
It should be okay because the super mutants are surprisingly modest as a people, you know?
It's
Human not
yeah.
look there.
Good. He's
Alright,
got
let's
his
see how
hands
awkward
in
this
front
is.
anyway.
Oh, thank God for that glitch. Maybe that's why Bethesda did it. They're like, we keep showing off people's junk. We need to stop.
I mean,
yeah.
you could try sitting in this chair.
That's
If
one
I
of the
sit in
reasons why
Forder's
I
throne, I'll
quit
probably
wearing
end up dead, though.
the fancy dress. I like how you're petting the little thing there.
Yeah, the little skull. It
It's
creeps
awesome.
me out that. This one's name was I can't remember.
And your Nuka-Cola lights have skulls in them. I don't know if mine do, and I'm really sad that mine don't.
Oh, the Raider ones. Yeah, I think it was like one of the. Oh, I think it was like one of the Wastelanders bundles. Yeah.
Maybe I do have them. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Wastelanders bundles confuse me. Anyways, so we fold in space. We've taken spice. Don't know a lot about it. Don't like Harkonnens or Talaxu. Good job, us. We don't totally trust the Bene Gesserit, so we better check ourselves before we tell them that and get, like, assassinated. Or they, like, you know, invade our family line and deny us dynastic privileges, as happened to the Karinos. That's one of the other big issues, is the Emperor married a Bene Gesserit as part of his bid for power and to solidify and everything. And then the Bene Gesserit told her not to give him a son, and she's like, will do. And they can, like, do that. So he in turn has been horrible to his daughters, basically, as far as, like, treating them like they don't matter, and, you know.
Well, and
Another-
Jessica actually talks
Yeah.
about a little bit of jealousy because she knows why Duke Leto can't marry her, because then it leaves open for any matches. but at the same time,
Yeah.
the emperor married his, so just kind of got two minds about that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Jessica is like a much lower social caste than the Emperor's consort, but you're right, it's a similar scenario and dynamic, and like just because they like elevate her socially from birth doesn't change like what's going on. Um, and she's not necessarily like a Landsrad person either. It's not as if she owns a planet. She's not like that elevated. So yeah. Um, Plot twist later, Jessica gets to own planets because she's a baller. But yeah, it's interesting the way. See, that's another symptom of Empire I noticed that he's kind of critiquing is like he's like Empire insists upon patriarchal dynasty, and he's like, look how flimsy that is, you know. And it's like, boom, House Carino's wrecked by a single like birth difference, and it's like because you value gender this way, you cannot have power anymore without betrayal. It's like wow, you know. Or for example, because they refuse to like stem cell clone or anything like that, or artificially inseminate or anything, they won't get their Atreides Harkonnen peace because of Jessica. And it's like, well, that's a really rigid stance that people chose, right? And it's like within this structure of what Herbert commonly calls like the pharaonic disease through the God Emperor, um, of Empire, right? Where it's like we're not gonna let our queens rule in this configuration. And you see this model of empire spread from, for Herbert, he says Africa, Greece, Italian peninsula, and then the world. And you see what it does each place it goes. For example, I've been recently told no longer to do St. Patrick's Day, but instead Irish Independence Day, because what St. Patrick's Day kind of is the quelling of indigenous Celtic roots, you know. So things like that happen with Empire, and Dune shows that, right? Because it's like whatever the Fremen are and whatever they do to House Atreides, they're about to be severely intertwined, whether or not they want to, you know. Like no one's asked the Fremen, "Would you like Duke Leto?" You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think about that a lot. I'm like, look how whack it is to try and have dynasties. It's just like you end up having to put your hopes and dreams on someone like Fade Rotha, who like enjoys playing with switchblades and like going to brothels. Yeah. Well, seems like we've probably covered our topics for today until we actually hit Dune, huh? The planet.
And I'm trying to remember what. Yeah, because I kind of sort of had a little scrolls through and had a look at who's what's coming, and yeah, there's some very interesting characters that come along and things, and there's already been like mention of the Missionaria Protectiva, part of the Bene Gesserit have been sort of like priming Arrakis and the people there. Yeah, that's always interesting. The seeding of legends and religious belief and prophecy and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, so it kind of sort of goes beyond politics, as you know, it's crazy.
Whoop. Yeah, the Bene Gesserit have like been brainwashing people on Dune for like thousands of years.
Well, I got the idea it was not just Dune; it was everywhere.
Yes, actually, true. Yes. Yes, they have been brainwashing everyone everywhere for thousands of years, with the Orange Catholic Bible and with like missionaries. So Frank Herbert doesn't like religion, by the way, it would seem. Or he thinks of religion as a farce used for control, aka he doesn't like religion.
Mm-hmm.
Why? The camera keeps zooming me out of your vault. It's exciting but disorienting. There we go.
It's yeah, it's a bit annoying even you know, even though it's like a the skirt of that outfit is just disturbing. I just it is disgusting.
I don't know why they made this outfit, you know? It seems, whoa, it definitely glitches badly too. And then it's just pure undies. The front seems like super unnecessary, right? And
It's-
yeah, other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even sure if it was like a metal nappy or something almost.
Right? I think with the mutants, it probably is, you know?
Oh God.
Here, I'll put on my suit and be proper. But I'm keeping the bucket. This reminds me of the guy in Rick and Morty who has like a mustache under his bucket, and they're like, "Why do you bother?" And he's like, "I don't know." But yeah, it's interesting that the Bene Gesserit have a massive religious power. What they wield is politics and myth, and it ends up working really well. They back it up with assassination. So they're kind of like Cardinal Richelieu on steroids, if you've done some Dumas or seen the movie with the Sheen guy in it for the Three Musketeers. What else? So they have like total control over their bodies, and as much as they use religion as a tool, right, and don't like practice it themselves, they still have strange biases against like I mentioned, like the Baron Harkonnen doesn't want to engage with women erotically. He finds them disgusting. So forcing him to have intercourse with a woman was, in my opinion, never acceptable. Because it would be like forcing a woman to have sex with a man, in my opinion, or anything else. In the end, the Baron would never truly consent because he was doing it out of blackmail.
Yeah.
Because the reason people know about the spice, right? The Bene Gesserit caught him. You know, they have really good spies. So that shouldn't really have happened. They should have just been willing to accept like sperm samples, honestly, in my opinion. But they will not do that. Like categorically, they refuse. And it's interesting that they, even though they have like their hands at the ship of myth and they're steering it, that they're still biased about stuff like that, you know?
Do you think it's a power thing?
I don't know. I think it's more than that. But maybe, honestly, maybe. Because if you can't artificially inseminate as a group, then that means, well, your boys have to play ball. And that does give you power. I hadn't thought about it that way, Honor. That makes some sense.
Well, I wonder if part of the reason that they wouldn't do artificial insemination is maybe goes back to computers and machines.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely
Yeah,
how they justify
maybe.
it publicly. They're always like, we don't use Butlerian jihad violating techniques. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? They're like, we can't use that technology, etc., etc. Yeah, their predecessors were the most fanatical religious people during the jihad, so yes. But I think Honor's onto something though. I think maybe they're using it, whether or not it began as like a true belief, right? They justify it as Repatriate said, but then I do think it's perhaps actually about another level of power for them because they're always very fraught and they're very aware of how fragile their hold is, just like the guild. And so they know they have to be clever, right? And that really opens my eyes because it's like, well, not only are we benefiting from this here, but it's also like a kind of threat and privilege we can afford simultaneously. For example, to the Baron, it's a kind of threat, like, oh, you have to meet with one of our women once again, Baron, even though we know you hate that. And if you don't do it, everyone's going to know you have a spice hoard, and the Emperor is going to kill you. You know? Yeah.
Oh, I had another thought as well. Considering that the Bene Gesserit are able to control so much of their own bodies as well, I wonder if this is another thing that they can control as well.
What do you mean?
Uh, oh, I don't know. Fertilization of the egg.
Oh, yes. Yes. Jessica talks about that too. That's how she, like, they can control too much. Like, almost aspects of the appearance, even. Like, there's a lot of eugenics and, like, racial and feature preferences in the Bene Gesserit that they enforce rigidly at the genetic level, as well as in the selection of like people for breeding schemes, and they totally control and can manipulate themselves to be more fertile and stuff, which is pretty ballin', honestly. That part's like epic. I'm like, control your body. That's so cool. They're really good at yoga, basically. Like, they're really, really good at yoga.
Still think it's more of a control thing, though. Control over their being to show that they've got power over certain people.
Oh, yeah, like the refusal to use technology in that way, right?
Mm.
I know it's a bit crude to speak of it. I'm sorry if it's awkward for y'all. It's just like part of the power structure in the novel, so I'm like, yeah. I think we're reading Brandon Sanderson next, so if we can finish this, we'll be in a nice, safe PG place next. Although Sanderson rips people's bodies apart all the time, so that happens.
Well, and this book was written before, I'm assuming actually, before they realized that gender actually comes from sperm. So it's kind of,
Whoa.
if you look at it as in they have control, the women do, it's kind of adds like another, I don't know, like layer to the whole thing.
Yeah,
if you
that's
think
really
about
interesting.
Because it doesn't come from the eggs, it comes from the sperm. So they only allow certain ones in, I guess.
Don't tell Henry VIII that. That's an epic revision of the book. You're like, dear Frank Herbert, please take into account of these biological facts. No, that's ballin'. That's so cool to think about. So yeah, like, whether or not he thought about it, the fact of the matter would be that it would be like that. So honestly, the more I think about it, shouts out to the Bene Gesserit. You're terrifying and epic and really smart.
Yeah.
They are. It is a weird paradox. I do kind of like them, but I do also think you have so much power. It's terrifying.
Yep, I
Sisterhood
am
of
right
Steel.
there with you. Kind of in
It's,
awe of them, but at the same time terrified of them.
Yeah.
And I don't think the first time I read it, I don't think I thought about them from the political aspect, like what we've been talking about, as far as how much they control and how much power they have.
They also share a consciousness through the Reverend Mothers. They share memories, genetic memories, and then they can like sense each other in the great like overmind or whatever the fuck. So like they're really cool. Like they can kind of like whisper to each other through space and time and stuff. Like, and like when people start like getting out of line in their order, like they can feel it, and like you can't like hide from them. The Reverend Mother that Paul met obviously was a truthsayer. So what that means is like if someone lies, she sees like the shape of their chemical embodiment as like distorting the truth somehow, like on the tips of the words, which I thought was like epic, you know. And of course the voice, right, which makes you stop doing what you're doing, which would be great for every parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll hear a lot about them in later books, if we get to those, they end up having a really cool impact on the series. I think the last book is called Chapter House Dune, right? And whether or not that's like a book we love, the Chapter House is a Bene Gesserit thing. That's like their headquarters. So what that implies is that the Bene Gesserit will control the spice, basically. But
Yeah, there's quite a lot that gets up to there. Like, there's kind of like an offshoot of them as well, and
yeah.
that really confused me.
And it's interesting how the
Yeah.
Bene Gesserit treat the offshoot. They're like so appalled by it, and I'm like, they're not so far away from what you
Different.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, we would never be like that. Yeah, that section's cool because there's this guy named Miles Tegg, and he can run really fast, and like he like runs through people, and they like explode, and I'm like, that's very like Vats, you know? Like, just hit this guy with the baseball bat so hard that he evaporates somehow because I have bloody mess on.
It's one way of looking at it, yeah.
It's like Neo going into one of the things and exploding him.
Yeah, right?
Oh yeah.
Neo's a great example. He's a very Paul Atreides kind of dude, you know?
Mm.
Where it's like, you're the chosen one. You have to like save all these enslaved people. And he's like, who am I? No offense, Keanu.
What
I
am
love
I?
you. What? I know Kung Fu.
Those
Did
were
you
good
hear
movies.
that they're making another Matrix?
I
What?
did hear that, but I don't know
Yeah.
if it's gone anywhere. I think
Oh,
right now
is it
with
that kind
COVID,
of thing?
we're not going to get a whole lot of new movies for a bit.
Vaccinate the crew. I'm all selfish.
Well, that's what Witcher 2, Henry Cavill said everybody's been vaccinated and they get tested twice a week.
Toss a coin to that crew. And
Yeah.
yeah, the people in charge for not being evil. Thank you, them. Would that be Netflix Repatriate in the end?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were actually talking about a prequel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would, I'm more interested in that than I am in the next Kingdom Hearts. How about that? Don't tell anyone. The Square Enix will kill me. They'll send Mickey Mouse to destroy me. You're a heartless.
Oh my goodness.
Taste
Right.
my Keyblade. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I've enjoyed this. I would say maybe I might go on if you wanted to, or if y'all are feeling it, we could call it a session.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, whichever.
Yeah. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, I just want to give y'all some time before the Writers Guild meets with Ken and all of them.
Oh, I'm actually not in that.
You don't do that, Rep?
series.
Oh, why not
No.
Repatriate? Huh, okay, well, if you ever want to, I guess you probably get enough spam from that stuff in the cast section of my Discord, so maybe not, but yeah.
No, I just gotta get some mojo going, I guess, with my writing in general. I used to write quite a bit,
Yeah.
and just haven't. Actually, what happened was I had mapped out an entire trilogy of story, and then
Wow.
one of the girls in one of my Facebook groups, she self-publishes on Amazon, and she published damn near the same thing. And it wasn't like, I'd never shared it with anybody, but I read like the first half of her book and went, well, fuck.
Yeah, publish it
Basically.
anyways. Every book's the same, don't you worry.
I was a little disappointed, so I just kind of
Oh,
put it
I'm
off to the
sorry. Well, we'll have to just keep badgering you politely.
side.
I'll be subtle. I'll just like slip notes under your door, so to speak.
Well, actually, one of my best friends, every time I see, you gone back to writing yet? I need to read your story.
Well, you made me write, so Well, I won't yell. But yeah, thanks for letting us use your shelter, and it's
Yeah.
always cool being down here.
It's alright. No
I
worries.
think we
I'm
got
gonna
some
have to.
great pictures down here too.
Yes, I like. You know, I need to get some pictures because I need some like I don't know, just funny pictures. I did like a thing of like some of my other characters in the podcast. I was just sort of like, yeah, I know I've got like these characters and it's all very a little bit serious and that in the podcast, but um, why is he going off that way? Oh dear,
Whoa, that's interesting.
it's broken.
Yeah, you
Um,
went all over the place there.
I think it's because it's in the corner. Um, and yeah, just kind of sort of showed like, yes, these are characters in the podcast, and yes, it's a little bit serious in the podcast, but we do some really stupid stuff in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
I was
like
trying to
the
market 76 recently and it didn't work. But that might be a way to do it.
like the number of times that poor, well, don't even say poor Joel. Joel has ended up in wearing various dresses and things like that, and
Always a good time.
you know, and it's just sort of like, well, I mean, there's reasons because I don't know, because like my friends have been on with their female characters and they've been in dresses. I think there was like one where they were in like the asylum nurses outfits, and and I happened to have one in his stash, and I was like, oh, okay, fine then. You know, there he is. How you managed to get dressed that fits this guy, I have no idea.
That's so funny.
It's like one of my friend, well, Fluffy's one of Fluffy's characters. He is he's probably about the same size as Joel, I think. She's like, well, he is quite tall. Um, and Reeve does dress and drag from time to time, and we're just sort of like his choice, his preferences is the red sequin dress, and we're just sort of like, where in the wasteland do we find like a dress that one fits him, and also, but more importantly, the shoes. You,
Yes.
it's like this is what I want to know. It's like, you know, I can understand to fit
I still want to
somebody
drop
like
100. Just
Gilda, but where do we find a dress that fits Reeve and the shoes? You know, is it more than one of these dresses? You sort of sewn together, and he's kind of fashioned the shoes himself.
I think they need to give us more outfits and yeah, more outfit capabilities. Like armor you should be able to like decide if you want to see the armor through the outfit or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking
Yeah.
about that the other day. I was like, what's the point of decorating my armor if it's under my clothes?
Yeah. How am I gonna piss off Tech Blaze with my communist Secret Service paint if he never sees it?
It's like I don't like the buttressed raider chest, but you know, it's like the best mod for it as I understand, and I'm like, yeah, but
Hmm.
I don't want to see it.
That's so funny. I like it in that it's hideous, and then I guess that's probably why you don't like it.
It's just the whole tubing between the legs and stuff like that. I just sort of think that's just uncomfortable.
It's chunktastic, but it's about style,
It's
not
chafy.
comfort. At Crater. I've noticed the raiders seem to be hilariously into fashion compared to settlers. I mean,
They
why
are.
bother putting those spikes on that trapper armor? Who are you impressing? Or like the bones on this outfit. Like what are we doing?
I'm bad
To
about
look tough.
matching up my armor.
Or and another thing, like, wouldn't it be cool? Like, so Repatriate has the treasure. Oh, did have the treasure hunter. Like, imagine being able to see their armor, like, on
All
the
my different
arms,
armor.
you know? Yeah, especially since like on the right arm, it's just like a little bit of armor. Like, it'd be cool to see that in the outfit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh,
Or
the
or the
scout
leg
armor.
armor.
Probably both, really. Definitely the scout army,
First,
though.
yeah, for a long time, me and Fluffy are, well, she had her Reeve character in a full set of Forest Scout armor, and she had a set for one of my other characters, Bernice. And I mean, those two are pretty much you see them around together an awful lot because Bernice gets Reeve. She has a lot of love for Reeve, um, and she'll even let Reeve do her makeup.
Oh,
Um,
beer has worn off.
it-
Bar looks different now. Sorry.
oh, yeah.
Less
So
beer,
it's
more
so yeah. So
drinks.
they were in matching outfits. It's sort of like no, they're absolutely not a couple. They're just really great friends.
Are you sure?
No, 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 no. No, Fluffy has told me the whole sort of little backstory about Reeve. Reeve is bi, but he prefers men.
By the way, I left
He's
spoiled food here, but it's not a judgment on you. Normally I use that to diss people. I just dropped it here for not having it. So don't take it the wrong way.
yeah, right.
That's what it says on the propaganda flyer. It says, "This spoiled meat is not an indication of how I view your bar, but rather an indication of my desire to pollute."
No, it's more like he sees Bernice more as a sister, and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool because they are kind of similar.
That's an even stronger bond often enough.
Yeah, he's more like a he views Bernice more as a sister, mostly because they are kind of pretty much the same, and that they're just a little bit creepy.
That's so funny. Kind of like
Yeah.
that character in the Enclave podcast played by Scald, huh? Why am I blanking? Shoot.
Oh no, not in a different kind of sort of creepy as in like consider some of the other characters. Reeve has a massive crush on Joel.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about this. This is great.
It's funny. The thing is, Reeve isn't even in the podcast because it's Fluffy's character, and Fluffy has a whole backstory to Reeve, which I would love to if she made it into something, but she's not a writer.
Oh.
Yeah, he has a huge crush on Joel.
Maybe you can get them to voice act a character or something. Or
Fluffy,
workshop.
oh no.
I don't know. This sounds like they workshop with you though, so that's cool.
Oh, we're just two nerds
Oh,
that
shit.
play Fallout, and we have a lot of info about our characters, and we just talk about them. I mean, she's got
Yeah.
a raider character who is very interesting.
There's
He
complexity
has-
behind the face paint.
Mason doesn't have face paint.
Oh, I just meant it as a figure of speech.
Oh, right. Sorry.
'Cause there
Yeah,
a
he's
lot
got
of them
quite.
are, yeah.
Yeah, he's got quite a. His story is just tragedy, basically.
Oh,
Um,
sad.
Reeve's a vault dweller. Logan's a vault dweller. Don't know about Haley. I don't think Haley is. Yeah, she's got a whole load of characters.
Huh.
And she has Reeve's dad.
Aha, I found
Who
your
a-
generator.
Oh yeah, it's along the side of the wall. Yeah, Reeve and Takoda I really like. It's interesting. I like what she's trying, and Reeve and Takoda are Native American.
Huh.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I think that is something that is kind of missing from the Fallout games.
I've been thinking that the whole time. I'm like, but it's in, and the Wendigo itself is like a myth that is like fraught with meanings that are, yeah.
Yeah.
And that thing they pinned up on Seneca Rocks looks like a Thunderbird, but whatever.
So that is yeah. So no, I love all her characters. Yeah, Reeve's funny though. That's why there's sometimes on my other Twitter account it's like loads of pictures. I think like one we managed to get, well, it was Joel in sort of like raider clothes and that, and it's like him and Reeve with linked arms, and just sort of like, I was like, we do so many of these pictures.
That's adorable. The friendship, the power of it. Let's see here. I want to try the helm.
I know. I'm amazed that I don't get people whinging about, oh my god, this is so gay.
Well, we've been shooting the fuck out of people that say that in game, so hopefully they know to stay away. We've been they've tasted quite a few railway spikes over the years. Is your lobby built up at all?
Not much, no. In fact, not since you last saw it, no.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off going in then. Oh,
Buttercup, the Brahmin plushie, is still there. Or she might
Aw.
be stored away for safekeeping.
the plushies are surprisingly
Yeah.
fun. I didn't think they were gonna be that cool, but they really are.
I love them.
In a whisper. Oh.
I do love them.
Is that a
Ooh,
pipe
I didn't
rifle?
realize.
That's so fun. No, that's a handmade.
No,
Isn't it?
it's a handmade. I didn't realize that this had carvings on it though.
Oh, it's beautiful what the Raiders do.
Engravings. And that.
They're like, this gun is my friend. I wish
they
I
kind
could
of-
decorate the railway rifle. I'm sad about it.
The
It
thing is,
deserves
I
to be
would-
gold.
I think
Sorry.
it kind of makes me think because right, all my weapons in Red Dead Online are decorated, and like and I mean, and for me, like I've got like attachment to like certain ones, like
Yeah.
my faithful Lamat revolvers, and like I've even like colored like my shotguns have got like ebony wood and dark metal and stuff like that because they are pretty much when I have those and I'm in PvP, it means yeah, you're gonna die.
That's really funny. No, I accidentally lost my brother's revolvers once, and he never played Red Dead again. In my defense, though, I once decorated every single NPC in Balmora in Morrowind to be holding god-tier equipment, and he killed them all for the equipment. I'm like, but I gave them the equipment, so we're even, you know. But I feel bad about that.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, my character in Red Dead Online is actually Joel's ancestor.
I love that you did that. I think that's so cool, you know? I really enjoy when people like connect their play like that and like, link the stories. Just really fun to think about.
Yeah. Because I just kind of thought, I wonder if I can make like one of my characters that Fallen, and I was like, well, I'm gonna make Joel. Just seeing, and Fluffy had said, yeah, there's some, yeah, there is like a pompadour hair still in there, and it is even better than the one in Fallout.
Nice.
Love it. Instantly, her character's also red-haired, Magnus, and
Oh, Seeker's old base. My old base.
yeah,
Magnus
they
is
have
cool.
a. He is. It's really funny. He is built like a brick shit house. And
Functional.
then you've got like my Joel Senior, who's like quite skinny. You know, but they work together. But I mean,
Yeah.
Fluffy
think
has done
in-
so many cartoon drawings of them together. Like we joke about, it's just sort of like it's like I think like one where I'm like, yeah, Joel learns how to do his daughter's hair by helping Magnus with his in the mornings.
Those are really endearing, I think. Oops, I needed ammo perks. It's almost like gives you an opportunity to make a Red Dead podcast down the road.
You know what? I have thought about it. I thought it would be quite fun to do. It would be quite fun to do the what Magnus and Joel get up to.
Yeah. And then if you want to get really wild, you could do a cyberpunk podcast after that, and then you've established like every possible timeline, you know?
Oh no, I haven't created any of my Fallout characters in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a whole different world.
I tried, and I'm just sort of like, no, their essence is not in this.
They're like, we would never be in a CD Projekt Red game. It's too a body for us or something.
No, I just couldn't get any. I just couldn't get any of them to look anything like any of the characters that I've got.
Oh. Well, that is what
So-
happens in the post-human times. You know, we start looking pretty wild.
Oh, it wasn't even that. It was just like facial features and stuff. I was like, no.
Ah, shit. That makes sense.
Yeah. They kind of all. I'll be honest. They kind of all. Yeah, it wasn't even that. They just all kind of looked a bit too perfect as well. I know that's kind of like the point is that everybody looks beautiful and everything, but I was like, but I miss having scars and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like they give you like the prosthetic scars, but it's like they don't give you like a scar of like, oh, a bullet hit you or whatever, or at least not enough, huh? Oh, this
Yeah.
patio set ain't too shabby, is it? Huh. What's the free item today, folks? Oh, there it is. Easter
Death
eggs,
Paw.
right?
Easter egg,
Yeah.
You're a little quiet, Patriot.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's always better to hear you.
I kind of pushed the mic away from my face a little bit.
I do that all the time, and then people are like, where are you? And then I get mad because I'm rude.
It's one of the last times I was streaming. Hamster got on and she's like, I can't hear you very well. I go, oh, I have the microphone too far away. She's like, no, put it up to your face. Learn to embrace the microphone.
Embrace the phone. Embrace the microphone.
Like, it's not so much that, it's just sometimes I don't realize. I'll put it in my face if I need to.
This chat's got a despotic name.
Why did he have to jump so high to get up there? I mean, there's really not going to be much that you're going to find exciting in this vendor.
Oh, Honor, I left some extra little decorations in your lobby.
Oh, thank you. I'll have fun finding those. I do like. It did make me laugh when I saw the Brahmin plushie. I
Well,
was
that's
like,
fun.
ah, and I'm gonna keep that.
Well, and I wasn't sure what all I could build for you, because I remember when I first started on PC, Fashknock last year, Tech built me the what are the
Let's give this guy some
lights,
back.
Oh, the antler
horns.
chandelier.
Yeah, antler. Thank you.
That
yes,
one's awesome.
Yeah, he built those for me, and because I didn't have the plan for it yet, so I blueprinted it so I can always use them.
Genius.
Oh,
yes,
I'm
I
gonna-
like just new toys. I don't know what all plans you have, so I'm like, I don't want to dump stuff in there.
Huh?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm not sure
Oh,
what
where's
I'm
that chat
doing
shooting
in that
from?
bit of the shelter either, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Stuff.
Oh, that's cool. It's much appreciated. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go because I need to go and get my food.
Explosion. Yeah, no, I totally understand. As a person who made this the stream late to eat, thank you so much once again, everyone. And I'll be
Yeah, thank you.
cruising around for a bit.
All right, I'm probably gonna hop off and go get some food and get ready for Death Stranding.
Nice.
Gotta go get my baby back.
Oh, didn't know that happens.
Well, BB is fragile. Well, not like the character fragile. I said that and didn't think about it.
No, I was gonna say, I was like, what?
No.
But not like that.
It's fragile little baby. That's
Yes,
what
delicate.
it is.
Cool. Okay, well,
All right. Well,
shall
I will
see
talk
you all
to you
later.
later.
Peace out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, I will jump to another chat. I will jump to mine. Cool. Let's get a couple points done then. Could be Blood Eagles here, or those chaps. Make for good sniping practice. You should reload your rifle more often. Those aren't clearing the barrier, are they? Oh, that one hit. That one did not. Could be trouble. Quick reloading. Oh, you know what? We're cooked. We're not cooked. Uh-oh. Oh, sniped the last one. Let's get him right in his dome. That exploded. That's Jan Michael Vincent's. Okay, so we made our ammo. Now we will consider Class Freak or Critical Savvy. Critical Savvy could be cool. I'm gonna do Quick Hands again. Although, Serendipity is so cool. Alright, so I guess we won't have fast reload for a bit. Put on Gun Fu for the headshot capability. Then let's get our true damage, which comes from our mind. Our Nerd Rage. And our Explosive, which is less and less good, so probably don't run it. Have you got my spikes? And some adhesive. Caps, scissors, you name it. Someone's Raider Thief bit the dust. Probably got gold. Thank you, Oil Canister and Metal Bucket. You will become Railway Spikes. Thank you, Stew Pot, for existing. Can't turn that into anything. Hello. Hello. What have we got here? Good stuff. Yeah. Walking my way to the Bright Springs. I don't know if I feel like being here though. Kill a player, huh? It's tempting. Oh, but they mean a nuclear winter. That makes more sense. I'm like, why would you send me to take someone out in adventure mode? It's not like you, Todd. Wolf Horde in the forest. Messenger. Breach and clear, and it's right by my tent. Why not? Better watch the time though. Don't want to miss the campfire chat. If we do it just right, we'll be able to raid Repatriate, I think.
Attention! Possible agitator presence detected near
Okay,
breach
let's drop
site.
off the goods.
Location must be cleared before breach can occur.
Nice. Not too shabby. Need to be taking these shots sooner, I'd say. Ah! Should we bats one of them for old time's sake?
Area clearance detected. Initiating breach procedure.
Okay, let's get some resources.
All workers, please evacuate to a safe distance.
Thank you for giving me
immediately.
my spikes back, sir. I like that about you. Oh, you as well. Good man, good man. Okay. Get rid of my shotgun. Should put the scrapper on. Okay, so we've retreated to a safe distance. Breach and clear is going along well. I think we'll be eliminating more hostiles soon. We should probably do what she says and unload. Hitcher took us over there. Okay, go to the green ones. Very good. That was a mighty fine harvest. Thank you, Motherlode. I hate that the settlers kill you. I think that's lame. Uh-oh. More friends are coming. We might have to resort to bats, because I'm not in a tactical position. Where are you, you agitators? I wish it would let me stay up there. Maybe it will. Oh, there's one. Hellfire. Whoa, where you at, buddy?
Additional containers on the field. Materials available for collection.
Oh boy. Get out of here. So sneaky. Okay, let's shift up the perks ever so slightly. We'll do a non-Batsy for a second. Lucky dog.
Unsealing of new containers completed. Initiating unload procedure.
Alright, let's get some of these boxes. Heck yeah. I need that ore. Oh boy. I'll mess around with those. Caps. For me? Oh. Not a bad shot. And you get 2 spikes back. What a deal. Unlocking, and there's nothing in it. That is really funny.
Additional containers.
All of this ore is so cool to have.
System request unloading.
Glad to have the Hornwright Senior Executive. I remember when I didn't have it, this event was a lot more frustrating. Felt like I didn't get anything out of it. But then you do the main quest and boom. Who said that? Bad shooting, bad shooting. Better shooting? Okay. Nice. No scope. Reload. Whoa! You thought to eat me? Well, now I will eat you.
Container group unsealed.
Little mole.
Alert procedures
Waste not.
Final unloading call issued. Repeat.
Is it already the final unloading call? I'm gonna miss you, Motherlode. We've had such a good time together today. I think these are your final ones, yes, up here? What about that? Oh yeah. An alarm clock. Ay caramba. What else? What else? Maybe that one? Yep. Some raw asbestos with those caps. Keeping them fresh. Okay. A spine for some reason, in case I didn't have a backbone. We've done good, Chad. For our efforts, we have many meteoric swords. Now let's go take out these stragglers. Hey, man. you. Bye, buddy. Look at that. A VATS free combat. Wish I was getting better on the range, but I'm really not. I'm only good close up with this gun. Or VATS. So if I can do the range well, man, I'll be able to raise some hell in the workshops. Alas, nothing to do but make more spikes and keep training. What are we looking at? 11:52. All right, let's start getting to our closing session. Thank you for hanging out with us today for another Vault-Tec University stream. Looks like there's a nuke we might try and get involved here on the end. But I'm going to have to go off stream soon. Oops, hold on. Because I want to go hear what all the other writers are up to. Didn't quite get what I needed done to show them, unfortunately. So I might also have to share some notes instead of actual script. That is okay. And then what else is happening? Podcast is getting together. People are sending in their lines, sounding good. So the time will come soon for me to edit them, right? Put it together, and you'll be hearing about the Raiders for once. Let's get rid of that. Okay. I think I still forgot Scrapper, didn't I? Podcast guy. Man, I really enjoy everything Repatriate and Honor and Steel had to say today, as I always do. Like, a lot of fresh insights for me. Help me figure out all this crazy stuff in this book. Okay, back to the perks one last time. We'll briefly turn off the Nerd Rage. Scrap it up. That'll help a bit. Hey, no longer cucumbered. Short assault rifle. Goodbye. I wish that gun was better than it is. I wish the handmade was good too. Those are good times. Okay, let's double check that we're going to be able to raid the way I was planning, because I thought that would be cool. It looks like they're not on yet, so that's unfortunate. Okay. I thought Medic was live though, no? Huh, weird. Where are all the people that I wanted to raid? I'll wait a little bit longer and they might come online, you never know. Drop off my loot. I think I had a couple more weapons to scrap. The meteor swords, right? Or are those some kind of cheap legendaries? They just won't let me drop them. Huh. Well, maybe some noob will like that. Alright, did we get any legendaries today? No. Head off to that nuke. See what's happening over there. Alright, let's try the raid again. Medic, perhaps? Yeah, they're in the mix. Okay, we'll start that raid, get that fired up. Thank you again, everyone, for coming through. And then if you're watching this later on YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out with us here. We'll have more Vault-Tec University lectures coming through. Right now they're mostly literature, but dang, that guy's not trying to hang out. We'll also have other stuff coming up. That's a dead beast, I think. Got him. And we are ready now. Bye. Goodbye. And so long. See you soon.